what's the AI learning from? Is it really original? And that's like part of the big problem. AI is learning from the stuff that was made by humans. Do you legally own the stuff that you make using AI? Do you have copyright protection? These are the bigger questions that I haven't seen anyone answer, and I'm a music attorney. So I'm going to talk about it today. While I'm going to focus on Udio specifically, which is right now, just everyone is so excited about this platform, its capabilities. I mean, people are just freaking out. And it's allegedly better than Suno. And we're going to go through its terms of service. And I'm going to possibly accidentally kind of expose them a little bit. What I'm trying to do is have a bigger conversation and to walk you guys through how this works so that when you make music, if you make music in any kind of way from this platform or AI in general, and then you release it and then you sell it, what do you need to know so you can stay legally protected? In their terms of service, they kind of reveal what is coming. And right now for the beta version and the stuff that it does, it's really amazing. But what I kind of accidentally uncovered as part of the things that I accidentally uncovered looking into this is what they're going to be doing, which I'm going to walk you through. So where I thought I would kind of start with this, and let me share my screen. Udio. It's funny, I actually went to their website and I was trying to, because I haven't actually used the product yet, but I'm like preparing for this video. I'm like, all right, let's whatever. I went to their website and my virus protection was like, don't go to this website. It's terrible. I don't know why, but I just ignored it and I got on the platform. I used it. So where I want to start is with just the question in regards to copyright, because this is what you guys are concerned about. You go, if I make the thing on this platform in any kind of way, do I own the copyright in the song that I created? And so this came out in March of 2023. And so basically the Copyright Office was saying that AI is essentially being excluded from any possible registration that you try to file. So if we remember, under US copyright law, when you make something, you automatically have copyright ownership in that thing. Okay, that's the beauty of copyright law. But the Copyright Office came out and they go, this policy, they'd made a big statement. They go, look, we have explained that human authorship is required for copyright protection and that they will refuse to register any works, any music, right? Any videos, anything that is made from AI. And so we go, okay, so then when it comes to just like realistically, if we can utilize these platforms, and I've had people ask me in regards to, I'm using AI to help with my cover art. It's a great tool. I kind of like what it's coming up with, but what are the reasons why I shouldn't do this? We're going to touch on that. But so this is what the copyright say. They go, you're not going to own the stuff that is made from AI. And we go, okay, well, why is that? The reason why is under 17 USC section 102. This is what it says. It goes, copyright protection subsists in accordance with this title, and it is required that it be an original work of authorship. Okay, so an original work of authorship assumes that it's made by a human. Okay, and we've had cases litigated about this with things that may or may not have been made by a machine or a device and all of this. So we start with just a general kind of premise of under copyright law, great news. When you make something and put pen to paper, you do a little voice memo, you record in your studio, you actually have automatic copyright. Great. And the reason why we go and we register with the Copyright Office is because it's a prerequisite. If you want to sue someone, if you hire me and you're like, Crystal, I need to sue them, they stole my song, you have to have the piece of paper that says you actually registered with the federal government. So those are the two steps we keep in mind. So again, if we are using AI in any part of the musical development, if not the entire thing, what does that mean for you? All right, so with that being said, let's bounce on over real quick to Udio's terms of service. All right, so last revised March 18th, 2024. I'm going to very specifically focus on a couple of things, one of which is that they identify themselves as Uncharted Labs Incorporated. We're going to keep that in the back of our minds because I really like to stalk out companies. I like to know, where are they? Who are they? Who are they owned by? What are they doing? All that stuff. Now, in the very beginning of this, they go, hey, just a quick heads up. In Section 9, there is a waiver of class action rights. There's an arbitration clause, just so you know, this is coming, but we do give you the right to opt out. Now, I'm gonna talk about this in a sec, and I kind of like that, and I'll explain why. But what I really want to just hyper focus on is going to be, there's two things that happen on Udio, right? Those two things are, one, you get on the platform and you give it some kind of instruction. You give it some kind of prompt. And pursuant to the terms, it says this is defined as input content, right? So the services will allow you to prompt, direct, and to provide other content. This is how we know that there's other stuff coming from this platform, which may include lyrics and audio files as inputs, which is collectively defined as input content. So that's one of the things that are happening here. The next thing that happens here is that it's going to generate stuff for you. It's going to generate sound recordings, musical composition, lyrics, text, visual content. So then this is defined as the output. Now, one thing that I kind of want to keep in mind is that they go on to say, for the stuff that you put into us, plus the stuff that pops out, so the input and the output content, you give us rights to use. So it says you acknowledge and agree that we may use your input content and output to train or otherwise improve our services. Now, as we go through this, I'm going to point out all the places where it talks about how, you might provide third-party material or material to it. And I go, right now, from what I can see, there's no way to like upload a track, because I had that thought. I'm like, well, what if I make a great instrumental and I want it to help me write a top line? I understand there's different platforms that do that, but specifically with this one, I go, well, it doesn't look like you can do it. It's more of you just give it prompts. I want this kind of thing with this kind of vocal and this kind of styling, and it could, pop out a great song. So the services may allow you to download copies of another user's output. So someone else who makes a song, or more importantly, if you make a song, someone else can download what you made, your output. And similarly, others may download copies of your output. You may only use another output for personal and non-commercial purposes. And you can only do it, as far as actually utilizing someone else's song with their consent. So again, this goes back to from what currently you can use the platform for. I don't see that this is in any kind of place. There's no like community I can go to, right? Or post my song publicly so that it would be shared. But I think that's coming. But just so you know, whenever you are watching this, that anything that you make on this platform not only may be reproduced by someone else. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to sneakily like make my music on this platform and release it and no one's ever going to know, what they actually say in their terms is that someone may put in the combination of things that you put in, and the exact same song may get spit out for someone else. So just from a kind of, how you want to play this, keep that in mind. They do set forth a bunch of stuff in here, and they're just like, look, you can't reverse engineer our platform. You can't learn how to do what we're doing and all that. But also from the stuff that you make, here's the things that we're just going to kick you off the platform for, stuff that's defamatory, obscene, pornographic, it violates privacy, it's harassing, threatening. So they say this a bunch of times. All right, that's all fine. You have to be at least 13 years of age to use the platform. Where I kind of want to jump in is with section, I think it was 6. So go all the way down. Oh yeah, this made me laugh. So they go, the beta offerings are as is, and they say a couple times, they're like, if you get a bug on your computer because of us, that's on you. All right, so 6, ownership and content. So we go back to, all right, if you use this platform, the stuff that is generated that you do not already own, you don't magically own it. So you might be thinking, you're like, well, if we said under copyright law that authorship is when you fix an idea into a tangible medium, wasn't it my idea to put together all of these great things, these great descriptors? Like, it wouldn't have come up with this thing except for me telling it what to do. So doesn't that entitle me to the copyright under the law? The answer is no. Your input was so minimal and it's basically just disregarded. So you don't have copyright. So we're keeping that in mind, but it still goes back to the question of, well, you're going to use this stuff for something, right? It's not just this platform. And so then it's, well, if you do use it, and then you sell it, or you stream it, or you do these things, how does that potentially backfire on you? So here in section 6, they go, here's all the stuff in regards to ownership and content using this specific platform. So whenever, it pertains to the services, they define their platform with the look and feel. So example, meaning text, graphics, images, logos as proprietary content, information, and other materials. And any technology used for any output, this is our copyrighted stuff. These are our trademarks. This is our IP. I'm a trademark attorney. I'm a copyright attorney. So I know how to look this stuff up. And I was like, you say that you're a trademark owner. Let's take a look. So I went on the trademark office website and I did a little search. So this is their filing right here on the right. And so you can see they filed for the trademark Udio in the class of 9. As well as the class of 42. We know that because remember we said it was Uncharted Labs, and so they are registered in Delaware. Now, just so you guys know the reason why a lot of companies register in Delaware, there's many reasons, but sometimes they do it because you can't look up who owns a company in Delaware, also Wyoming. And so sometimes people will register there because they don't want anyone knowing who the owner is. I don't know if that's the case here. I'm just saying, I just noticed they are in fact registered in Delaware. But the other thing I also noticed is that there's another Udio. And not only is there another Udio, which is okay. We can have trademarks. We can have trademarks for the exact same name as long as that name is in a totally different category. We call them classes. So if there is Metallica and Metallica does music and Metallica does live shows and sells merchandise, so they have all these categories. But there could be Metallica, I'm trying to think of something that'd be so unrelated. I don't know, knitting. There's Metallica knitting services or something like that. That actually is okay. So there's an Udio in class 42 and there's an Udio here, right? In class 42. So they actually do the same thing. And I go, okay, that's interesting. So I look at the owners. Okay, so here in the owners, it goes, this Udio, which is registered, meaning this person, this company already got this trademark. And it's owned by Udio Systems, Ltd, proprietary limited company, which is based in Australia. And so I go, did we just uncover that the owner of Udio is based in Australia, or is this really a different company? Because one of two things is happening here. Either the attorney for Udio, the AI music creator, didn't do their research to see that there's another registration in the exact same class, which is going to be very problematic. They're not going to get it, or this is actually the same company. Anyway, let's move on. Just to show you guys what this looks like. So it shows class 9. So this is what the AI Udio applied for. So class 9. So they go for 9. We do computer software. We have downloadable AI software, apps for discovering, creating, storing music. And then class 42. So this is AI software for discovering, creating, generating, storing music, Okay, we're fine with all of that. We're just kind of curious about some of that additional information. And then also the Udio that we're talking about, the terms of service. Here's kind of the backdoor stuff you guys don't get to see, which is they filed this in March. So just a month ago. So they are just brand new on all things. They're brand new on filing for their trademark. So back to the terms of service. So they go, look, in regards to our copyrights, in regards to how we do stuff on this platform, it's our proprietary stuff. You can't come and reverse engineer our stuff. Otherwise, you're going to get into trouble. Fine, no problem. What we care about more than anything is for the output, as it's defined here. How does it affect you if you use it? All right, so moving on, 6.3, your content. In connection with your use of the services, you may be able to post, upload, or submit the content and other information owned and controlled by you, such as your input content, which again, guys, remember we were just talking about this and we're like, it's not just the instructions that you give this platform, but it actually does define that you may be able to upload stuff onto this platform at some point. And they covered this at length to be like, hey, in regards to the stuff that you upload onto our platform, you agree you own it. This isn't like infringe stuff from someone else. So that's why I'm like, I think that's where this platform is going, which is going to be really interesting because now it's this idea of merging your original stuff with the AI component, which is going to make this so complicated legally and from the standpoint of copyright. But anyway, so as between you and the company does not claim ownership in what you make. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So the company does not claim ownership in your content. So anything you give to the platform, including any output, so any stuff, any songs that you create, which are generated by you in response to the submission of your input content to the services, provided that the company, its affiliates, all its people that work, there, own the services and the technology itself. Okay, we're fine with that. You may use your output for both. This is so important. This is the big question here. How can you use what you make? This is what they say. You can use the music that you make for both personal and commercial purposes. And we permit you to download a copy of the output that consists of an audio file for such purposes. So at least as it relates to the question of if you make something and then you want to sell it, right? Because, we'll talk about all the ways that we think this is going to impact a lot of people's jobs in the music business. But if you generate music for a film and then you sell or put on music platforms, right? A soundtrack for the film, you make a song, you put the song on your album, like all this stuff, pursuant to at least this contract, these terms of services, you are okay to do that. From a legal standpoint, that's one thing we at least have clarity on now. In order to operate the services, we may need to obtain from you certain license rights in your content that actions we take in the operating, I'm sorry, I'm saying that weird, in your content so that actions we take in operating the services are not considered legal violations. So that's another place we're seeing in regards to your content. I'm thinking they're gonna have you, be able to upload some of your stuff onto this platform. And I don't see why that would be a logical progression. I literally had that thought. I go, what if I just put my instrumental, because producers do all this all the time, right? And we go, this would be one of the jobs that's going to get affected, right? So one of my clients, she gets hired to do top lines for producers, right? So she comes up with the words, she comes up with the melodies and stuff like that. And other platforms do this. It's just, will this platform do it? It kind of seems like they're gonna. All right, so you grant to us and all of our, associates, we can reproduce, transmit, publish, display, and modify your content to operate, improve, and promote the services. So this is just meaning they can study your stuff, right? So the AI can learn from what you upload onto the platform, which kind of goes back to my whole, as you guys are making music on these platforms and then selling it or distributing it, and also how it can be used not only by this platform, but by other people on the platform. So that's where we're paying attention to stuff where it's like, you give us the right to promote your content, your output, the stuff that you make on this platform. So don't think that, at least as of now, that what you're doing is going to be kept completely private and that no one's going to know, or that someone's not going to come up with the exact same thing that you came up with. We're going to do all these things, including we can reproduce, we said this, publish, we can distribute your output based on your input content. So, right, if you uploaded something at some point, also the instructions you gave it to train or otherwise improve or modify our artificial intelligence. For clarity, this grant of right includes a grant of all rights necessary for company and our affiliates, successors, assigns, right? So all the people that work with us to be able to do the same thing. That's essentially what it is. So, and we not only that, but we can do it in any media now known or hereafter developed in regards to monetizing, right? So if we want to make money from it, if we want to promote it, if we want to market it. So they go on to basically just be like, look, understand that there's a couple things that are going to happen here. One is, and this is a big one, okay? So we're going to get to this where they say in regards to credit, you have to tell the public that you're using this platform. Do I think all of you are going to do that? No. Do I think that even some people ethically feel okay using this platform because they're like, well, and we'll talk about this, but pursuant to this contract, which is what this is, if you use this platform, you are required to give credit and say, I use this platform. And then guess what? Udio is going to repost it, or they reserve the right to repost it and be like, oh my gosh, this big song, it was made using our platform. And of course they would, but you give them the right pursuant to these terms to do that. So as part of the foregoing license, you grant to us the right to also comment, to tag, to publish, to display, to copy, and also to create like little derivative works. We can do it for any reason. We can do it for advertising. By posting and submitting your content through the services, you represent and warrant that you have all necessary rights. Okay, so this is where it's going to get really muddy. We have so many problems already with people who utilize music, distribute music, sell music, and they actually don't have all the rights just because of who they worked with. They're like, we don't have an agreement, and I think I should be able to own it. Like, someone did this to me. I went to their studio one time, and we just recorded and just tried some stuff, and we're just, dicking around. And something like years later, this person released a song using some of the stuff that we had recorded, and I didn't give permission. Person did not own it. Lots of issues. And so things can happen, and maybe someone can be confused, and they end up doing something with the music. So that's what they're saying here. And that's what a lot of these companies do anyway that deal with your music. They're like, just so you know, you're supposed to get all the permissions and consents and all the stuff so that if something bad happens, guess who's going to have to pay the attorney's fees? It's you. That's what this says. All right. So 6.4 talks about attribution. So this is where it goes. You give us permission to, well, and this is after the credit, but this basically says you will credit them. So you will credit not only us on anything that is made, right? You are required to. That's a distinction. It's not a, hey, we kind of want you to. You are actually required to. So, technically it would be a breach of contract if you use this platform and then you don't reasonably credit them for the creation. So keep that in mind. I don't know. Is Udio going to come after you and sue you because you don't give them credit? Pursuant to this, they could. All right, so this is kind of interesting right here. They get into DMCA takedowns. So basically what this says here, they go, look, under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 2018 and this specific statute, if someone files a DMCA takedown because they go, you stole something from us, and so they have a copyright claim. Under the Copyright Act and the DMCA, what it says is that there's safe harbor for companies. So in this case, it'd be Udio. So basically what that means is that they have built in a mechanism to be like, if there's a copyright claim, we have the ability to not get sued pursuant to the Copyright Act, and this is how. And I go, that's really interesting because I'm like, again, this is all AI generated stuff. So I go, one of the big questions here is, well, what's the AI learning from? Is it really original? Is it really? And that's like part of the big problem. And, we have a lot of people who are just like, no, it's not. AI is learning from the stuff that was made by humans. And then it's using these interesting, incredible algorithms and technology and, all this stuff to come up with these new songs and all this stuff instantaneously. Like, it's insane. But in any case, they do go, well, we are going to give ourselves safe harbor here. And again, I don't know if that's for purposes of now or that's because in the near future, they're going to be giving people the ability to upload their original stuff, and it will be now integrated into the AI.
Ever dream of getting your music into TV, film, and games? Well, it's easier than you think. And here's what I put together for you. A music library database of 90 plus music libraries, email templates, and a license agreement, all so it's done for you. Go to topmusicattorney.com for sync licensing made easy.
And guys, let me just touch on this for like 2 seconds, going back to the copyright stuff. Please memorize this, remember this, write this down. When it comes to you filing something for copyright, remember in the beginning, I said, if you're going to file to copyright your music, your original music that you made, you want to make sure that you file it with the federal government, right? The Copyright Office, get a piece of paper. You got to do it to file a lawsuit, to hire me, to get your attorney's fees, like all this stuff to file the lawsuit. Very important. And you want to do it before the infringement happens if there's infringement, because then you can get statutory damages up to $150,000 per infringement. It's all great stuff. But the Copyright Office, and the reason why I showed you that at the beginning was the Copyright Office has said that if you make some portion of your song using AI, you have to disclaim it to the Copyright Office with your application when you file. And if you don't, what can happen is that the Copyright Office will revoke your registration. So it will be like it never happened. Again, for those of you who are thinking, well, how will they know? Why would you risk it? And there's so many platforms now that are popping up to help, teachers, for example, figure out how to catch the kids who are, using AI to write their essays and things like that. There's just as many like solutions coming up with figuring this out. So I want to put it out there. You do have to disclaim whatever portion was written by AI. And if the whole thing was written by AI and you didn't do anything, so other than put in the instructions, if it was totally made by AI, you can't get a federal registration in the United States. All right, so moving on, they have all the mechanisms for the DMCA takedowns, the ability to do counter notifications, all kinds of, things we won't get too far into, okay? And then the output, right, so the stuff that is made using the Udio platform generated by the surface is for entertainment purposes only. They're like, hey, you can sell it, you can do all kinds of things, but we're saying it's for entertainment purposes only. Due to the nature of artificial intelligence and machine learning, your output may not be unique, and the services may generate the same or similar output for a third party. So for those of you who like your hair is blowing back and you're like, this is the most amazing thing, I'm going to put out the best music ever, and you're not maybe being honest about your use of it, just understand there's just going to be different ways that this kind of burns you. And so I'm focusing on the legality of it, I'm focusing on the copyright issues and all of that. However, I do want to reiterate this. They are telling you that there is a potential that someone who uses the platform may have the exact same song generated for them. So don't think that, again, you might not get discovered, right? Okay, so as we continue though, because remember the beginning, I go, I'm curious about this company. Who is this? We'll get to that a little bit more. So they go, the laws, the jurisdiction is basically going to be, we do have limitations of liability, and this is how it's all going to work. So let me go to this. 8.2. Remember with the TuneCore terms of service, we were talking about the limitations of liability. I'm like, guys, I will literally go to war for weeks over these words, that there's a limitation of liability in order for you to seek your special, exemplary, incidental, consequential, or punitive damages. And then they also go on to say, if there is liability, so you sue us and we lose, the total amount that you can get cannot exceed, it can't be more than $100, or the amount that you paid to our company, if any amount, in the past 6 months for the services. And I pointed out, I just go, look, a lot of companies do this because it practically prevents you from ever getting a meaningful outcome. Okay, so just meaning like you can't get your attorney's fees because they said that word, consequential damages. It's a consequential damage that you incur to pay $50,000 to file a lawsuit and pay an attorney. And they're like, also, by the way, You not only don't get reimbursed for your attorney's fees, but if we lose, the most you could get is $100. This stuff makes me laugh. We'll come back to this, but I just want to transition the conversation really quickly back to more of the practical stuff. So let me bring Orko back in so we can just kind of jump into this.
This whole conversation has just been, crazy. I know you haven't gotten into Udio or any of these things like working with it, but I checked it out. I looked at it and I did a couple days, and just every time I did it, I just felt like, what is the point anymore? Like, music is over, music is done. And then I was like, but it's here. And it's like, what are we going to do? AI is here. AI is, has really think about your lifetime. Everybody that's been alive that's, watching this video has gone through a couple of eras. Just how fast the world has adapted to AI just in their everyday lives. I mean, even on Meta and Facebook now, you can't avoid, they have their AI that's built in that you can't even get rid of. Your phones, they all have AI in them. Chat GPT, everybody uses Chat GPT. Everybody is using some form of AI now. An aspect of it is like, it's here. What do we do? Like, it's just here. What can we do? I've seen talk of the government really needs to regulate AI. How? The technology's out there. It's here. It's in existence. It's a matter of fact.
Yeah, and in regards to this, if you've written the lyrics, right? So let's say you were using Udio and you wrote the lyrics. Well, did you write all the lyrics? Did you just give it, maybe some sentences and then it built the remainder? Do you have copyright protection in the original elements that you provided? Yes, for sure. It gets really tricky if you go, that was my sole input. And then for practically, for each of you watching this, you now know and you can better protect yourself on how to do this, how to register, what you need to disclaim, things like that. But then going back to the question of someone, just being like, so what? What if, so what if I don't have the copyright ownership? Here's the practical effect. Because we talk a lot about, I really want you guys to think like record labels so that you can build your own companies and not necessarily just give ownership of your music to another company because maybe they can do something for you that you don't know that you can actually just do for yourself. Setting that aside, I'm always like, remember that these companies are making millions of dollars from your music because they end up selling it, especially if they can get a song or a few songs to go viral, like something happens, these become really valuable assets. And that's what record labels make a lot of their money from. And so the reason I say all of that is because the only reason that they can sell this stuff is because it's original music. You're not going to be able to do something with this long term. So as far as it being kind of like part of your business plan, do you want to utilize some of this stuff? Like, cool, do it. But as far as utilizing it and then trying to sell and stream and all this, like in the short term, it might have some benefit. Long term, it could really backfire for all the reasons we talked, copyright
Right.
issues you can't enforce, right? So if your song was made with AI, you can't take that to court because you don't own it. You don't own the copyright in it. You also can't sell it because when you sell it, you have to provide paperwork to the buyer showing that you have the copyright registration, that you made all the things. Those are the problems that are going to come up for you.
But I think also, as time goes on and, in just the short time how advanced the technology has gotten, and it's pretty advanced. I mean, we're going to be talking about this for a while because it's crazy. I see that it is going to be like everywhere, and maybe some of these laws are going to have to change. A lot of these laws are so old, so they're going to have to adapt, and I don't know if they'll never catch up. But I just think of like sync licensing. Who cares if they have to, say that we used it for AI, or if they're developing their own technology, because these are just, these Sunos and Udio are just like two companies. You don't think record labels are designing or in their own like AI software? There's so much different AI software. I think that you're going to have a flooding of AI generated music. I think that we're going to have another huge surge in rappers and singers and producers that are using AI for their social media, because now they have backing tracks, and so now they can get into music so easy, just like how when DAWs were made to everybody can just record their own songs at home, and then everybody was a rapper or producer, and now it's just even more so because now just casual fans of music are going to get in the industry. The market is going to get so overly saturated, and it's just going to. It's just a matter of how you're going to adapt into it. So I think
Hey, I love this. So actually, there was when I was talking earlier about this, there were two examples that came to mind, and this was one. So when we had a non-human make a thing, and there was the argument of, does the monkey who accidentally took this, or not even accident, the monkey who took the selfie, did the
right.
monkey own the copyright? And the courts found no, because he's not human, right? But then another instance where a live streamer, he accidentally turned on the camera and it accidentally started live streaming. And then someone used that video. And so he sued and he goes, that's my copyrighted content. And he lost because the court said you didn't intentionally make it. Yes, it was made by a human, but you didn't intentionally make it. So there's lots of like gray areas and nuanced things. But the one thing that we do know under the Copyright Act is that work of authorship suggests that it's made by a human. It has to be made by a human.
People are going to always want people to perform live. People are going to always want that aspect. So although there's a lot of holograms that are out there now, it shows. So we'll see what happens. But
So one thing I didn't finish my thought on in regards to the terms of service, and I'll just show you guys this really fast because I go in the terms of service, it always says what choice of law, like if there's a dispute, where are we going to duke it out? In the terms right here, it goes, the terms are governed by the state of New York without regard to conflict of rules, proper venue. So if there's a dispute, that the state and federal courts located in New York County, New York, shall control. So I go back to my little, remember we were looking at the trademark filings and we go, this is interesting. They're saying that they are registered in Delaware,
Delaware.
but then they have New York law. So I actually tried looking up the company and I searched in the, New York Secretary of State website. They're not there. So they are registered in Delaware. I'm like, is it this Australian company? Who are they?
It's very mysterious, but I'm sure that, with all of this technology, I'm sure these companies are also kind of nervous when they release it just because they don't know what the laws are going to be. And so they're trying to throw everything they can to protect themselves. That's the other thing that blows me away about everything is the fact that anybody has access to this. Like anybody can do this. It's not like you have to already be involved in music or you're paying for something or this is an exclusive technology that's only available to like the upper echelon or labels or whatever. Your grandma could literally make an AI generated song, make a little IG with it or whatever, and go super viral off this song.
Yeah, in regards to just training AI, right? And I go, how do you guys feel about this? So
Yeah.
if at some point Udio and really any of these platforms, but Udio allows you to upload your music because maybe you're just trying to get inspired, and they go, not only if you upload the music, you give us a license to use that and any of the final things that, you come up with, but also that they have access and, will have access. It doesn't look like it's, a thing right now, but that they'll have the ability for other people to be able to also view the stuff that you make and to download the stuff that you make. Now, they say if someone else downloads what you make, they're not supposed to use it commercially, right? To distribute it, sell it, that kind of thing. But I'm also going like, okay, cool. That's what you say, but practically speaking, what will people do? They'll do whatever the hell they want.
Well, I just see people using it a lot for sampling, just taking, generating some, 70s soul trumpets or something like that. And we talked about a little bit before output, how you just kind of on their website you type in what kind of stems you want and it's essentially doing the same thing. It's giving you a type of beat that you get the stems from. I think when Udio releases stems and just these different abilities or can go from song to MIDI, and then you're just kind of taking chords or whatever. It's going to be harder to catch. But to your point of just not owning your music, some people are just looking for the clout and the short ride. Companies are looking just to save money and not hire musicians. Think about just all the jobs that these AI companies are, potentially eliminate, like session musicians, like there's so many things. I need a bass line. I don't need a session musician to play it. I'll get a clean bass line stem that I have. Sound engineers, when you hear these Udio songs and their sound MP3 and beta and stuff, but if they get higher quality, whatever, these songs sound like they're mixed. They sound pretty good. Anybody that's like kind of attached with kind of mastering engineers, songwriting is going to be totally affected by these because you don't need it. And if I'm making a movie or a short film, or I'm looking for something background music for my YouTube video, like why am I not just generating the AI music that I want and just putting it on my video, like, or my short form content of TikTok, and now I'm rapping my lyrics over it, or I'm using AI lyrics. The world has changed though. That's the main takeaway, is it's changed, and we either accept it and go with the flow, or we sit there and complain about it. But people are going to be making money on this. People are going to be using these tools.
Well, and one thing that I do want to just point out, because you guys remember, they had said at the beginning of the terms of service, and they go, you reserve the right to opt out of any
Oh, TuneCore.
arbitration language.
Oh,
Well, that was in
okay.
TuneCore, but no, specifically with Udio's terms of service. So I just want to make sure to give you guys this because I always give you the contact information. So if you do sign up to be on this platform, you have 30 days after you register to be on the platform to send them an email, which you want to send to info@udio.com. And you want to say, I do not want to be bound by the arbitration provision. And I wanted to point this out because I saw this with when I bought one of my cars, and it said that because I actually read the terms of service, it's a thing. Like you do want to opt out of these things. So if you're newer to the platform, if you want to utilize that, make sure you do it. You have 30 days from the time you register. And the reason why I wanted to point out is A, you guys should know this, but B, with Udio's terms of service, I always want to highlight something where I see a company doing something like giving an option to its users, to artists, to producers. Like, and that's why I just, had such a problem with TuneCore's terms of services because I'm like, I get it. You're a company, you are here to make money. That is so abundantly clear. And, you have no obligation to care about your artists whatsoever. But like when I see a company giving some option of something, I'm like, good for you.
It's the process, not the results. Now, I don't know which direction you're taking because you could see it from both coins from that statement. People thought that also the end was going to come when cassette tapes came and they were going to end the music business, but you could record songs off the radio and dub them. And, one could argue that, eventually came to streaming. But it's all about, we're talking about like devaluing music, photography. It has totally changed as far as, people aren't necessarily going to photographers for their headshots or whatever. Everybody's shooting everything on their phone, or technology has been affecting every humans forever. I mean, it's just been kind of like a slow burn to get to where we are. Cause even when I was kind of toying around with it and just putting in like artist names, it was coming pretty close to a lot of stuff, which is the scary thing because it's still not there yet, but it's so almost there in such a short time. We're going to be definitely covering more of this stuff going on, just talking about just even like the ethics of it. Like, what is the cultural significance? Is this like, is human music, and to have an asterisk by it, you know what I mean? Say, or music can have an asterisk by it, like in the Hall of Fame or something, because it's AI generated.
Hmm.
And 30 years of now AI generated music, it's like, oh, like you listen to human made music, that's so like 80 years ago. Like, is human history going to be erased? Is emotion, because we're training it with our emotions, we're training it with our vibes every time we generate a song, every time we release a song now, apparently. We are teaching
Yeah.
AI our human experience, our things. It's now creating things to a point where we're not going to be able to tell. And we're just like, I don't care. That song's a jam. Like, what am I going to do about it? It's a hit. What do you want me to do? I don't know. Robot wrote it. Robots are good. What do you want me to tell you?
On the wrap up here, guys, this is what we're taking away from having looked at now the terms of service considered copyright law. And number one, in regards to purely AI created music, you do not own it. And in fact, even pursuant to Udio's terms, you have a license. You're permitted to use it, right? You can use it commercially, you can sell it, you can license, you can stream it, you can do all the things. That's okay. So you are okay legally to use the music that you generate. But under copyright law, you don't own it. Now, if you merge AI stuff into your music, the AI stuff you don't own, the original stuff that you made, you own. If you go and file that with the federal government, which you do want to do generally for your music, you have to make sure you tell them the stuff that was made by AI. Otherwise, it could result in your registration being revoked later on. So this is what you need to think through. And then the biggest thing just being, if you start to incorporate AI into your creative process, the AI generated stuff you do not own. If you do not own it, think about how that's going to affect your stuff long term.
Yeah.
All right.